together in season 4?
I think it's a lot of butting heads, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Adora is trying to protect Glimmer at all costs, and you know, she thinks that protecting Glimmer is keeping her safe and tucked away, but Glimmer wants to be in the action. She wants to be the one saving Etheria and taking agency. Yes, exactly. So I think they all want the same thing, but the methods clash.
Yeah. And I think with Adora, she really likes a project, like Noelle was saying. She likes something to do, and if she can't fix the situation herself, she's like deeply unhappy. So I think when it comes to Glimmer, it's like watching somebody ride a bike for the first time. Like maybe your instinct is like you want to go and like steady them, but that's counterproductive, and also it takes away any kind of like enterprise that she has. So yeah, it's a struggle, and I think they definitely have to go through those bumps in order to come out the other side.
We saw mention that Adora is also, she has her Glimmer's mom asked her to protect Glimmer in the season. So how much does that affect? How much of Adora's through line in this season is that?
It's so much, and I feel like Adora feels a lot of guilt about what happened to Angela, because I think up to that point she felt like she needed to do the sacrificing all the time. So. But she was also scared too, so when Angela did it, I think there was like a lot of guilt because she felt responsible for everything, and then somebody else kind of takes the sacrifice. So yeah, that's a big part of her protectiveness over Glimmer. She's an extension of, I was supposed to protect you, and instead I got your mom killed, and that sucks.
So what's Adora's responsibility like? Because she still has to train with White Hope, and now taking care of Glimmer at this point. So what is her responsibility? Is it more higher stake for her, or is it more for kind of like a stress to her matter at this point?
I think it is higher stakes because now you have someone with a lot of power who she feels like, unfortunately, she feels like she has to control her in a way or manage her power, and so it's sort of like it's a different shift. It's a dynamic that she's not used to, and she's not used to sharing that kind of burden with anybody else. So I actually think her job gets a little harder this season because it's not so much about like, who am I? It's more about like, how do I keep people from dying?
Because Glimmer is now a queen. Are we going to still see her going on adventures with Shira and Bo still? Or
That's like a big thing this season. I don't want to give away too much, but I think, again, Adora is trying to keep her safe, so she has to be, within the kingdom and not going out as much. And I think she feels a little left out. She has a little FOMO. So, she's trying to keep positive, but that's another thing that she, has to face.
Yeah.
With the responsibility of being queen, she can't always be out and about doing her own thing.
Right. Because who's your successor? I don't know. I don't know who. If something happened to Glimmer, I don't know
so
who.
Much pressure.
Yeah. And because of the Princess Alliance too, I think like politically she has to stay safe and all that. But she gets in a little trouble. We can say that.
Yeah.
One of the things the fans reacted to, especially, was Glimmer's redesign. Oh. So was that your first time seeing it, or what was your reaction the first time you saw it?
I love it. I think every character has had a little bit of maturing in the animation.
Yeah.
And I think it looks, of course, I love the first season and everyone looks really cute, but now they're kind of looking like pretty or just more grown up.
Yeah, more grown up.
Yeah, and the costume changes are happening.
Yeah. But I was like, forehead! Yeah!
I
get to see forehead.
I know.
It's more elegant, I think.
Wait, forehead, yes.
Forehead,
yeah, my
Glimmer's,
forehead, yeah, she has the like deep part now.
Yeah, she got that deep part.
She's getting into the
Baby
fashion.
hairs are slicked up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hey, baby.
I mean, in the first episode, she goes through like a transformation, little shindig thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it.
People went nuts for it too.
I know. Well, I went nuts for it too.
Yeah.
She got her like wings up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, very much looking forward to what's to come too.
Yeah.
How do you think your character is going to be different now that you're taking over for your mother?
I think, again, it's just a ton of growing up to do in such little time. And so she doesn't cope with it in the best way. Everything is falling on her shoulders. And she doesn't have her mother to really lead her through how to be a queen. I don't think she was at all ready to step into those shoes, and now she's doing it. So, yeah.
It's so hard, and this isn't a fairy tale, this story, but like it is something interesting throughout, like fairy tales or stories that are meant for children or whatever, that it's always a princess, and it's always like they never become queen, because maybe subconsciously for kids that's like too much responsibility. So it's interesting to see a princess become a queen on a show.
Yeah.
And see her kind of like a little bit struggle, you know, and have a rebellious streak, because I think Glimmer goes through some like rebellion this season too.
Yeah, because I mean, she's still young, right?
Yeah,
so
they're
like
still young.
she has to think about what she wants, but then she also has to think about what's good for the kingdom.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily align all the time. So yeah,
A lot of responsibility.
One of the things I was wondering is that we've always seen Glimmer through the lens of like her mother, but now that her aunt is there, you know,
and Sandra
Sandra
Oh,
I mean, legend, we love, we stand.
Yeah.
But like, first of all, was it like getting to, do you get to work together at all? But also, what is it like getting to explore? No, but what is it like? Will Glimmer get to explore more of her paternal side now that her aunt is more involved with her life? It looks like.
Interesting.
So tough question to answer,
Gotcha,
because
gotcha.
something happens, right? You're thinking of the same thing.
No.
Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
We can't talk.
No problem.
But you do get some more background on her, I think.
Yeah.
And then tied into that, like, you just lost your mother, but now Adora has her evil stepmother type.
I know, she's back.
She's a guest.
I
So what is it
know.
like for Adora then to like have the instrument of like her childhood torment now so close to her in that new
I
setting?
mean, it's just, he doesn't trust her 100%. It's just like an everyday reminder of the trauma that she went through, and like, for all intents and purposes, she was the mother figure in her life. But I don't want to like equate it with like some sort of substance abuse or addiction, but it's like literally like finally getting clean of that, trying to reparent herself, trying to like do the right thing and not have those forces and those images. But it's like being constantly around it and having that memory is, I think, triggering for her. So that's tough, I would imagine, in the same way that, like, you know, you're trying to stay away from something, but then you like surround yourself with it. It would be really exhausting.
That's been a really big theme, I think, for She-Ra in general.
Yeah.
Like Catra getting acceptance from either Horde
A lot of
or
parental
parental
issues.
acceptance is
It's a big thing.
yeah, I mean, we all have
all
to
want
face
it.
it. Yeah, but I think it's this season it's about like finding acceptance within yourself as well.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to figure out how can I love myself
Yes.
without validation from
Trying to like reparent.
Yeah.
Or just
Yeah.
parent yourself or whatever. But it's funny because I feel like Angela like was on the other side of like maybe didn't give you enough freedom, like didn't give you enough space.
Yeah.
Whereas like Catra and Adora were like so underparented that they
Right,
just
yeah.
kind of did it on their own, and then they had this like weird evil like influence. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Do you think that Catra and Adora are going to heal their wounds of their relationship?
I certainly hope so. I feel like this is definitely a story of two friends that started really close and then just completely fell apart, and we're still in the process of falling apart, so it gets worse. But the idea is that maybe there is some sort of understanding it can become to, just like in any kind of relationship in our own lives. There's people that you really can't imagine your life without, and suddenly they're not a big part of your life, or if they are, they're a negative influence, and you just have to make a decision to not engage with them. But there's always a hope that things will change. So I think that that's where they're at.
At the end of last season, Horde Prime was introduced. So can you talk a little bit about how that factors into this season?
I don't know if there's like a ton we can say. I don't know. Noelle was like very
Because that was a big
careful.
reveal. Yeah.
Because I don't know what we can. He's introduced last season. There's like a little sprinkling of stuff this season, but then there may be more to come. But just know that I feel like Horde Prime is.
I mean, again,
What?
acceptance.
Accept me.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
Even Horde.
But it is a common enemy that like even Catra and Adora have. So it kind of shifts the perspective a little bit, because now there's a bigger enemy that they're both kind of fighting against. So that's interesting.
So now that
That's
both
great.
your Adora's friends are actually in charge of one of is on the Horde
Yeah.
and one for Bright Moon.
Yeah.
Is that you think maybe she could find a balance to get them to
No,
work together?
I mean, no. Well, we'll see. Interesting things happen in allegiances kind of like shift in this season a little bit. So anything can happen, but it's nice to have Adora like take a step back and let other people kind of run the show for a change.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Sure.
What are you guys most excited for fans to see this season?
Oh my gosh.
There's a new character
Yes.
that is really cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we can't say a lot about
I think
it,
it's
but it's very cool and everyone's
Yeah.
gonna love it.
it's kind of like, you know, when you are giving someone a gift.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to spoil
You
it.
don't want to spoil it, yeah. But they're
And-
being really mum about it, so maybe. But there is a new character, and it's a real good character. It's a great arc.
Was this
I've already-
Double Trouble that was introduced?
Yes. But there's someone else too.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah. Double Trouble and someone else. Someone you're not expecting. Someone like a blast from the past. It's really cool. I'm excited about it. So awesome. Yeah. No, you heard it here first, but I didn't tell you who. We're gonna move on. Yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Meeting you. Thank you.
Karen?
Thank you.